Moods are neither a concomitant of thinking willing nor the impetus to such, nor a condition one comes to terms with a certain way. The mood of boredom reveals being as a whole to us, pulling all being, including itself, into its own complete indifference. Not only does the situatedness of mood disclose being as a whole in its own way, but this disclosing, far from being a mere incident, is at the same time the fundamental event of our being there. Moods that reveal being conceal nothing. The negation of being as a whole in mood does not reveal nothing. Such a thing could only occur with a mood that discloses nothing proper. This event is possible and happens, though only rarely and only for an instant, in the fundamental mood of dread. In this sense, dread does not refer to the regularly occurring anxiety that has its source in the fearfulness that so easily appears in us. Dread is fundamentally different from fear. We are afraid of this or that determinant being which threatens us in this or that regard. Fear of is, in every case, being afraid of something determinate. The indeterminacy of and about what we are in dread is not some sort of failure of determinacy, but rather the essential impossibility of determinacy. In dread, as we say, something is uncanny. What do we mean by something and is? We cannot say what the uncanny something is about. There is something like this about the as a whole. All things and we ourselves sink into indifference. This moving away of being as a whole that closes in on us in dread pressures us. There's nothing to get a hold on. Dread reveals nothing. In the shuddering of this suspense, where one can hold on to nothing, only really being there remains. That, in the uncanniness of dread, we even often attempt to break the empty stillness with random chatter, is only proof of present nothing. In light of what we had just seen while it was still fresh in our memory, we are forced to say that about that and of which we were in dread was really nothing at all. Indeed, nothing itself as such was there. According to Heidegger, we have several motives to shy away from the significance of our emotional encounters with nothingness. They are premonitions of the nothingness of death. They echo the groundlessness of human existence. A couple are in a mutual shaping of each other. Both members are engaged in a technic discovery of the other. Each is a center of causes, seeking to shape the other into a desired end. Formal relationships, such as marriage, are meant to unite the final causes each partner has. The process of being engaged in the other, bringing forth the intended final cause, is a relationship. It is a technic process much like an art. But each member of it is also locked in the same process. It is mutual, aletheia, the bringing forth and unconcealing of both the members the final cause intended by the member in relation. This is not necessarily the overcoating of the will of the other member, but rather is the morphology of the person itself. Truth and knowledge is technic and relational. The investigation of a phenomena within any framework of inquiry contains in itself the final cause of the knowledge. A scientific investigation is only searching for intersubjectively verifiable objective knowledge. Its rigorous and imperial gaze forces experience to conform to itself, constituting the phenomena itself. Epistemic knowledge is in actuality tactic, as each person is always engaged in doing in life. Knowledge, even in a purely conceptual category, is in application through one's view or modality of being. Western laws of logic have not only constituted its philosophic thought, but its very way of experience, and thus its way of doing. Epistemic knowledge is historical, but atemporal, a priori, which grounds discourse and gives the possibility of their existence. A culture individuates itself by its particular center of attention, which constitutes a shared final cause intended subconsciously by its members. Much like a personal relationship, each member mediates the desires and wills of the other. What binds them together is a shared final end for each other. What a culture desires broadly translates to persons' final ends for others and themselves. The process in which a culture or person is trying to form an end in persons is an act of unconcealment, a fulfillment and revealing of the subconscious desired end. This revealing is itself truth, as that which was unknown but implicit is made explicit. This is not meant that end in itself is either good or bad, but rather the process itself is good. The discovery of someone's personal properties is through relationship. The act of realizing our final end for them and the learning of their personal qualities are synonymous. However, different relationships reveal these aspects through different modes. An abusive husband, as compared to a respectful husband, will elicit different actions from his wife. The personal properties of the wife will be expressed differently in congruence with the particular end the partner desires for her. These relationships are what inform one of particular persons. It does not directly reveal anything essential about them. Rather, essentiality is revealed in their manner of relationship, in which generalities can be abstracted from. The way which humans relate to each other varies greatly, not only in mood and instance, but also culturally as well. Each of these modes translate to ways which man can be relating directly to his being. The causes involved in the relational morphology is threefold: formal, material, and most importantly, final. The member, Heidegger's Dasein, classically identified as the efficient cause, is much more than such. A strong gust of wind can be the efficient cause of a toppled tree, but there is no evident final cause or means for the gust itself to conceptualize a form of a toppled tree. Man causing things is, as Heidegger put it, bringing forth, or poiesis. Dasein is not just the actuator things, but the agent that gathers up the causes and brings forth things. What is a person? Are we mere subjects or Heidegger's Dasein? Here's a quote from Heidegger. To be a person is to a member engaged in the coherence of being in the world. Dasein is revealed by projection into and engagement with a personal world, a never-ending process of involvement with the world as mediated through the projects of the self. Being with, to Heidegger, was the normal state of Dasein, as to be around others, to be in a social setting. This was not a necessary state of Dasein, but just a condition. On the contrary, the essential condition of Dasein is to be in a social setting, to be in relations with others. Heidegger's personal projects, broadly speaking, Dasein's technic engagement in the world, actually derive from interpersonal relations, the arch of doing. Consciousness does not exist abstracted, involved in something. Such consciousness is always mediated through sociality. Man is a social creature. Consciousness, being technic in its involvement, is directed by its final end. The final causes of human activities are primarily, or entirely, linked to desires. Human desires are mediated socially through mimesis, the new definition of Dasein. To be engaged in the coherence of being in the world, Dasein is revealed by projection into and engagement with a personal world, a never-ending process of involvement with the world as mediated through the projects of the self. However, Dasein is constantly projected onto by other Dasein, in the same manner that Dasein projects outward. In that, Dasein is as much a project of other Daseins as are his projects. In order to understand Dasein's existence, the nature of relationships must be understood. the question of solitude and relation to objects. An objection to such a definition of personage is the phenomenon of solitude, especially the hypothetical island scenario. Consider the distinction previously made between Dasein and simple efficient causes. So-called objects acting on other objects or onto a subject seem not to project in the same manner as Dasein. After all, how could one observe a plant's formal cause in the same sense of persons? Furthermore, a final cause of natural phenomenon seems counterintuitive. Rocks have no rational faculties to conceptualize a goal to attain. However, the existence of a final cause is not contingent on conscious recognition of such. Taking the final cause in its broadest sense as the inherent result of a technic process, all of the natural world projects in the same manner as Dasein. Just as the operations of other Dasein can be understood in their distinct causes, so can the operations of the natural world. However, their particular manner of projection reveals no manifest Dasein. Think back to how Dasein's existence is engaged in the coherence of being in the world. All of the actions of Dasein are technic and creative, in a sense, projecting onto the world. The operations of Dasein, which are constitutive of Dasein's existence, but are distinct from such. Dasein is not the mere collection of his operations. Dasein and nothing. The nothing is not a thing nor void, negation of things. Rather, it is the presence of such absence. When one turns off the lights and the room becomes pitch black, the knowledge of the presence of things in the room is known. But their presence is not experienced. Their absence is not a complete negation, but a slipping away of such things. The mood which is produced, and thus produces the experience of nothingness, is angst. The meaning of such words is similar to the uncanny. In the state of angst, nothing particular matters anymore. Everything in the world is equally indifferent to a person who is caught by this kind of dread. The world in its entirety is there, however. And as a strange and enigmatic presence, it impresses itself on the person in angst. The familiar and customary ways of understanding and relating to the world are all suspended. What usually seems natural and self-evident is no longer so. Thus, the only thing left is the pure being there of everything, the baffling fact of the world's indifferent existence. This existence becomes the ultimate enigma for the person in angst. It prompts the wondering question, why is there anything at all, and not rather nothing? Heidegger thinks this state is the source for authenticity and personal freedom, as the bare Dasein is left in nothing to then identify itself in a new way. Another way to encounter nothingness is through facing death, not intellectually, but in a total sense. What does this nothing clue us into? That the fundamental mode of being is Dasein? That other things find their origin inherently intertwined with the nothing we experience? The existence of things mysteriously find their origin in nothing. What is the nature of relationships and other Dasein in nothing? The main departure from solipsism is that the origin of things is interpersonal relations, not fragmentation of the self. What is asserted of things is highly enmeshed in the explanation of such things. Dasein's pointing out of peculiarity from one thing to another, neither subjective nor objective. The thing is enmeshed in Dasein's whole context, and its interpretation of such is dependent on the context. The contextual interpretation is revelatory of the thing, but only in the mood of Dasein. Thus, every definition of a thing is truthful within its context. From what does the context of interpretation originate, however? It originates from interpersonal relations. Our desires and thoughts are mediated by others, through relationships. No matter the mode one approaches a thing or other Dasein, the same process is being done. The technic process of charting the material and formal constitution to one's desire is univocal to all things, and Dasein. The precondition of Dasein being a transcendental person, being over. In order for Dasein to interpret anything, a relation must provide such with a map to interpret with. Dasein, in his encounterance with nothing, realizes his finitude and ultimately his origin from nothing. Nothing can be treated as ultimate possibility, to which anything or anyone can be derived. The mood of nothing and its reality is the prerequisite of the will. The postulation that the universe is eternal, in that the universe is either indistinct from an all-encompassing transcendent unitive principle or the eternal interplay of dualistic opposition. Both systems imply physis, the whole being fundamentally self-subsistent. But in the face of nothing and steeped in dread, Dasein cannot deny is the fundamentality of nothing. Being towards death is not a simple contemplation of such, but the engagement in life with the perspectival foresight one's own inherent demise. Nothing by itself can never actuate any of its infinite possibilities. To close possibilities is the role of a person, Dasein. He is continually faced with possibilities from among which he can choose, and at each choice he actualizes at least one of the possibilities available to him while closing off others in the process. Dasein understands itself in its own being, or Dasein is in the manner that its being is always disclosed to it. It is in this manner of being of Dasein to which it relates or comports itself is called existence. Dasein in its very way of being is always outside itself in a relationship of relating, caring as opposed to a relationship of cognitive understanding to other innerworldly beings. Its way of being, caring, or engagement is in itself technic, as previously described. This way of being, outside oneself, ecstasis, is to be an outwards relational context. As well, you're a project of engagement of all those in a relationship with you. Despite this, your Dasein is not the project of normative interpersonal relationships. Relational unions are intentional mimesis, the interweaving of technic projection onto the partners. Projections onto your Dasein from other Dasein morph such, but do not constitute it. What is the existence that gives rise to Dasein? All existence is projected, refracting and reflecting on things and persons. From which existence is the source that all projection originates? Better phrased, to whom is Dasein a project of? What is the intention such a person has for Dasein? Can this person be identified as Dasein? This person is identified as the poetic origin of Dasein, the projector of such. Just as Dasein discloses worlds in which things are worlding, Dasein is always disclosed as existence rather than what it is not. Being over is that existence which Dasein is always in relation to, ever disclosing. It is not initially clear whether this person is ever present past the death of Dasein, but let us return to Dasein's relations to discover the answer. From its inception, Dasein is projecting into and disclosing a world within which things are thinging. And more importantly, there is being there other than Dasein. The world which Dasein discloses simultaneously discloses Dasein. That relationship discloses that the personal source of Dasein is not immanent of him, but rather immanent in him. Dasein will die, but things will continue thinging past such. The personal of Dasein, transcendental to disclosure, is ever present. This transcendental person differentiates itself from other linguistic transcendental signifieds, as it recognized that it is within a context, in relationships. Signifiers are not justified in their meaning to him. Rather, how Dasein discloses the world in its context as a whole is the source of meaning. Interpretation of meaning is simultaneously relative and objective, as disclosure opens meaning which is respective to a thing, but is never the whole interpretation. Dasein's knowledge of being over is not investigatory, as it is not by investigation do persons understand each other. And I think that's all I gotta say today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Oh, and don't forget to share this. And have a good day.